different cool factors that 15's bringing out. I had the chance to play the game for a little bit, and I mean, honestly, it's been a little bit since I've touched a sports game. I'm a high FPS gamer. I am blown away on a lot of the different type of technicalities, the animations that are available, the fact that the shorts are moving around and all this other stuff, and even down to the animations and how that's kind of come about. But I know that your objective today is to talk about the Heroes mode. So let's kind of dive into it and have fun with this one here.
Sure. I mean, we're really excited to have fans out here at the GameStop Expo 2014, and everybody that's getting their hands on it are very excited about all the upgrades. But we have a mode that we're talking about, Ronnie 2K. It's a last-gen mode for the PS3 and Xbox 360 called 2K Heroes, unveiled here, of course, at the GameStop Expo.
Yeah, and 2K Heroes is very cool. We took the top 5 of the of 8 of the best NBA players of all time. The way we picked those guys, we'll get into in a little bit. But all 8 of those guys got to pick their top 5. So it was something that we built off of last year in NBA 2K14. Michael Jordan talked about. I don't know if you saw the spots, but Michael Jordan talked about like his ideal 5, and we thought that was so cool.
That's really
and
cool.
It took over. You know, it broke the internet the week of our launch, and so we wanted to develop that further. And we wanted players to kind of play these virtual scenarios and figure out, you know, the best 5 that you could put together. So we asked our 8 of our guys, like, hey, who would you put together? Who would your 5 guys be? And this is what we came up with. So
yeah, so we're going to take a look at some of these players and their selections. I think there's going to be a little bit of controversy.
Yeah, no, I definitely think
2K.
there is. Absolutely.
And the way the mode works, for those wondering, is it's going to be an online head-to-head mode. You get to pick each of these teams. The most winningest team at launch till All-Star Weekend, 2K is actually going to donate to that person's charity of choice. So it's a very good, cool charitable effort, something different, something unique.
So every charity is going to get a contribution, but the winning community, really, it's 8 different communities. You're going to play those scenarios. Is obviously going to go to the winner's going to get a little bit more.
So break it down, Team Jordan.
Team Jordan. Jordan brought it up last year. This is where it really started. He picked his teammate Scottie Pippen.
No question.
He had to get Scottie. James Worthy, who was in our booth yesterday. That's such a compliment to have him on the team. The Dream, probably one of the best centers of all time, and then Showtime Magic, who I'm sure, Chris, you could talk a lot about his
Absolutely, Laker royalty right there. 2 Lakers on that list I just want to point out.
That's amazing.
So Team Jordan representing Laker fans.
I think that's a really interesting team. Like
it is.
They got size, they got a lot of athleticism.
You have players that can
very
swap
good defenders,
positions too. You know, you have players that Magic could play any position on that team.
It's a very cool team, and this was the genesis. So let's look at another team. Kevin Durant. So I wanted to talk about this one.
Yes.
What I find fascinating about this one, obviously he's picked Magic, he's picked Hakeem, just like Jordan did. Karl Malone was probably one of the best power forwards of all time. I think
he was greatness.
He was the second highest scoring NBA player of all time.
And who's
right?
that guy on the right?
But
who's that guy on the right, Ronnie 2K?
The amazing thing to me here is, don't go with Jordan. Go with Kobe Bryant.
Kobe Bryant.
I thought that was so fascinating. So we worked with Katie on numerous occasions as our cover athlete. So we got to sit down with him and ask him why. And we have a video coming up where he explains it. And his explanation actually makes a lot of sense. Like the way he kind of built and formulated the plays. I was like, are you crazy? How do you leave Jordan off of this team? But he had a really good explanation for it. So you guys can look forward to that video in a little bit. And of course, proceeds go to the Kevin Durant Family Foundation, which is really cool.
That's awesome. It's really cool to see, especially being able to see Malone on there as well.
On that team, yeah.
It's very interesting seeing the different ideologies on your top 5,
he was talking about doing pick and rolls with Magic and KD, and then having
the shooters in the corners.
Magic and Malone and having the shooters in the corner pop. It actually made a lot of sense. So
absolutely. So I think we're going to look at some more right here. Team LeBron, of course, the NBA 2K14 cover athlete, going with Larry Bird, Magic Johnson. Who's that in the middle? That man is LeBron James in his new Cavs uniform, I might add.
That's pretty good.
And then, of course,
he's got Jordan, of course, and then the Big O.
The Big O,
one
Oscar
of my
Robertson.
favorite players of all time. He could do everything. He was a triple-double guy just like LeBron, so I could totally see why LeBron would pick the Big O.
Also a very ultra-athletic team. You see all these guys having these different mindsets on their top 5. It's very interesting that they're all different.
All of them have one big shooter, though, I noticed.
So I have to ask this, though. I mean, whenever you had the chance to talk with them about whenever they were picking their teams, how much of it, especially for KD and for LeBron James, how much of it was nostalgic at the same time, or was it real strategy and how they kind of formulate their plan?
Well, LeBron has talked a lot about putting the best four together. He's always said that those three guys are actually NBA 2K12 cover athletes. Bird, Johnson, and Jordan were his favorite players of all time. So there was a lot of thought put into this, and we interviewed them very heavily. That's why these 8 guys I was talking about, like, how do we pick these 8 guys? We wanted guys that were really involved and also wanted to do a very cool charitable thing.
That's great.
So these were the guys that we came up with, and getting LeBron's input on this as the best player of this generation, probably. I know you're going to disagree, Chris. I'm sorry. Is really great.
So we've seen Magic so far on every one of these teams. Does this continue throughout?
I think there are a couple that do not have.
Yeah, we should continue rolling along here. So let's see what the next one is.
Of course.
Team Robinson. So there's the first one that doesn't have it. But again, you're going to see John Stockton, LeBron, David Robinson, Tim Duncan, and Larry Bird for Team Robinson. So it would have been
he had to pick TD.
You had to have Duncan on there, right? You got your first ring with him, and you know, he's gone on to win 5 more. So
and the respect he has for LeBron is obviously shows. But John Stockton, I thought, was an interesting pick here because I mean they competed so heavily, and I mean there's got to be a lot of respect right there.
And here's my thing: they're going to have the best bigs in the paint with this team. This team's going to be tough to go up against. So people playing this are going to definitely have a.
Sorry, Corey, what were you going to say?
No, I was just interested about the fact too, because I mean, really, I like the strategy, the meta game that's involved there, and so you mentioned. You know, do these gamers, these players, these athletes, do they look at you know, as competition and saying, hey, I remember whenever I played against them and how difficult they were.
Absolutely.
So
we have interviews with, I want to say, at least 6 of them. We posted one yesterday of James Worthy talking about his team, which I think we're going to get into in a second. But breaking down why they picked who they picked, and a lot of it was about their experiences playing against them or playing with them in Robinson and TD's experience.
Now, I wish you would have picked up a picture of Robinson in his later years and whatever things started to change it a little bit.
Well, I mean, in our game, as you probably know, obviously we have those historic. There's like 5 versions of SHAQ in our game, and obviously so many versions of Kobe and Jordan, obviously. So we do the historic thing. Nostalgia is a big thing for us. I mean, NBA 2K11 was the first time where we really took that nostalgia thing to another level, and it's just been so requested over the years.
Yep, so we rolling along here. Team SHAQ, this is one I wanted to talk about.
Oh, wow.
Of course, Pistol Pete Maravich.
You
got Julius Erving, who I believe he said was the greatest player of all time, right, Ronnie?
Dr. J?
Dr. J.
Who said?
I think SHAQ did, right?
Yeah,
that
he did.
Yeah, so SHAQ thinks Dr. J is the greatest of all time. He's on the list. Of course, Shaquille O'Neal at the center, Karl Malone and Michael Jordan. Now, I have to say something about this. SHAQ actually went on to a live stream and gave me a kiss, but I'm not really feeling the love today with the Laker royalty. How do you leave Kobe Bryant, who you had a three-peat with, and only 3 teams?
Very, very fascinating.
Only 3 teams
I know
in
there's
NBA
always
history.
been historic clash between those 2, but I mean, to leave him off this team is very, very.
I mean, a
interesting.
three-peat. Only 3 teams in NBA history have done that. And, you know, you don't have your running mate Kobe. So that's a very controversial top 5. But you can't argue putting Michael Jordan on the list, right?
What do you think,
kind of reiterate as well, this, again, the charity here is the Boys and Girls Club as well. So that's, again, I love all the different components, from the strategy and the meta game and how you got the bigs and talking about the history. And then, of course, also where it's always a good cause.
Boys and Girls Club is such a great cause. And, you know, we definitely wanted to give back here. I'm going to be playing probably a lot of Team SHAQ because that's a great charity.
There you go. And, again, you know, it's going to be an online head-to-head mode, so the day the game drops, October 7th, you're going to be able to play as these teams. The most winningest team is going to get the biggest donation.
One other thing I wanted to say about this team before we flip to the next one is SHAQ talks at length about, we actually got a lot of time with him because he's in our game for the first time as an in-game in our load-in show with Ernie Johnson.
Right.
Very cool if you haven't seen it. Very amazing. But the coolest part is we got a lot of footage of him talking about his historic days, and he talks about Kareem, he talks about Dwight, he talks about Kobe a little bit. Some very cool stuff that eventually, when he explains his 5, you'll get to see that kind of historical why did he pick these 5 and why did he leave some other guys off.
That's greatness. Let's go ahead and hop on to the next team, Team Worthy now.
Yeah, so James was here signing at the GameStop Expo last night, and he announced his 5 exclusively on our 2K Instagram channel. I think this is probably one of the most robust, well-rounded teams that there is. I mean, to have one of probably the most dominant big man of all time, the 2 most dominant big men of all time,
You probably have 4 of the greatest players at their position of all time, and not to leave out Worthy because he's selecting the team, but you have just this ultra beast lineup right here.
Yeah.
I mean, this is going to be tough to beat too. How are you going to beat this lineup?
That's a very tough lineup.
Look at the length, the size, athleticism. Like, this is going to be a great team to play as. And of course, the James Worthy Foundation. All the donations are going towards that charity. So a very cool and unique twist on playing head-to-head games and really leaving it up to the users to allow us to make the decision on who we go to, which is the most winningest team.
Let's go on to the next one. Team Drexler. I think this is a fascinating Team 2, Clyde the Glide. He left Jordan off as well, which I think is really interesting because those guys had some historic rivalry. Yes. Jordan was almost a Blazer. I mean, there's a lot of things that are interesting about this team. A very historic too. There's no current guys.
Yeah, that's interesting.
It's very cool, and he's actually his cause is for Search Homeless, which is a really great cause.
And going back to your point about the strategy of picking these teams, maybe he sat down and said, I played against most of these guys, and I know the history of basketball, and this is the team I want to put out there. No current day players.
I'm shocked that nobody else picked Bull Russell. I mean,
that's very interesting.
He won the most championships in NBA history, and this is, I think, the only team that he's on.
Well, it's great to see. I mean, that's one of the things I love about sports games, especially because it's one of the quickest connections to my past.
Yeah.
And so I can sit there and quickly just hop on and play as some of these awesome players and just remember. I still remember being in my bedroom, having my little Nerf basketball goal hanging up on the door and shooting from afar and saying, being Scottie Pippen or what have you, and just and doing the play-by-play announcing and getting into it. That's crazy. So if I don't know how many we've done so far.
I think we got one more.
So let's check out.
I think this is the last one. Team Curry. You want to talk about this one, Chris? I just got one thing to say about this one real quick.
Yes.
Picking Muggsy as the shortest player in the NBA.
I love it.
Or one of the most talented small men in the NBA. I just think that's perfect for Curry. And then he picked his dad, which is so cool.
It is very
so
cool.
awesome. And he explains why we have a video coming out of that as well.
Then, of course,
yeah.
Picking himself, Steph Curry. Then you have the man, Magic Johnson, and Michael Jordan. So, very cool.
This is a small team, but this is going to be an athletic. This team will run you off the court.
Yes, they will.
This is something very cheesy, but I wondered why nobody chose, like, the Space Jam team. And that would have been pretty. I mean, again, the purpose of strategy and all of that type of stuff, but that would have been pretty funny, though.
Yep.
Well, the great thing about this is you can use all these players, and, of course, our upcoming mode,
Do we have any more teams? Did I count wrong?
I think.
All right, good. All right, good. All right.
Yeah, so
oh, sorry, Chris.
I was just going to say, you want to play as those historic players. You can play with them in quick match games with their respective historic teams in NBA 2K15, but also in a very popular mode, My Team mode, which we're going to get talking about later on this week.
It's actually tomorrow, so we're going to have a broadcast tomorrow on our own Twitch channel.
Great, yep.
4
I follow
p.m.
that
Pacific
too.
time.
I do follow that. So. Great. So, guys, do you have any last comments? I mean, that was really cool for me, getting the chance to kind of go down memory lane and really get the idea of, again, I'm big into strategy and how everything gets pieced together.
Yeah. NBA 2K15 obviously comes out October 7th. It's, 27 days away?
So close.
We're so close. We have a enormous announcement next week, an enormous announcement. If you guys play our game, if you play My Career, you're going to want to tune in. It's going to be a big one next week.
So what's the Twitch channel, or where can they catch you on any of the live streams?
Facebook.com/NBA2K, Twitter.com/NBA2K, and Twitch.tv/2K, and Instagram.com/2K.
So make sure you follow that. Be on the lookout. I mean, you heard earlier where he had the Instagram post there, giving out Worthy's team picks there. And so make sure you give that a follow. Thanks, guys. I appreciate spending the time. And we have so much more coming up here on the live stream, so stick around. And actually, while you're at it, hit the follow button and check out all the other GameStop stuff that we got going on. We'll be back after the break.